Welcome to Ascended Masters, everyone. I'm your host, Janie Lynn. We hope you woke to the most miracle morning and are having a most fortunate day today. And this is another one of our amazing roundtables. We have Zoe Kelly, Hillis Pugh, Charlotte Tomlinson, Kristy Giles, and Spring Rayne, all from Ascended Masters. And our topic today is how do you navigate 5D in a 3D world? So with all of that, thank you for being here and thank you for watching. And I'll turn it over to Hillis.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Masters. Welcome to another day, another week. And so the thought that was really prevalent in my mind is, everyone is talking about 5D, right? And how, 5D is this energetic resonance of unconditional love, love from creator energy, love from the earth herself. And it's really interesting in how everyone is talking about this, but how no one is really talking about how do we get there or how do we step into this. And one of the things that I've been talking about personally is fourth density energy, because that feels, just taking baby steps here. And for those who don't know, fourth density energy is the tunnel, if you will, from 3D to 4D. So into 5D. And this tunnel is the space of vacuum, if you will. So just imagine you're walking through this tunnel, and there's thousands of tiny vacuums. The purpose of these vacuums is for you to finally let go, be free and clear of what no longer serves you. Because when you finally step into the fifth density energy, the space of unconditional love, you don't have any of that old weight or baggage weighing you down. So I want to hear from some of you ladies, and you guys could just jump on in whenever you feel. I want to hear from you. What is it that you guys are doing right now to be in this fourth density, anchoring into this fourth density until we move into fifth density?
So, okay, here's something that's weird that kind of started happening. Well, it's already happened, but about 2 years ago, I just woke up one day and went outside and everything looked fake. I was like, when people make those really killer train sets and they have the fake little mountains and the fake little buildings, and that's how it looked to me. And I was like, what just happened? It was weird. And so now when I look outside, that's all I see. It to me is dying off in its frequency that it was holding for so long. I feel like it's dying off, but it's forcing a lot of us to jump up more towards that fourth, get out of 3 high and into 4 low. Because I think that's something that a lot of people are missing, is that people are thinking, oh, you just jump into the fourth dimension. It's got parts. It's not just boom, you're in. It's like, no, people. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, and you got to do this. People just think that like they're not wanting to or willing to do the work. Those are the ones that are going to be left behind, because the ones that are ready to take the chance are going to be the ones to make it.
So Zoe, I just want to back up for a moment here, because, those who are watching us, we are in this energy every day. We understand, we kind of know what's going on. But you spoke of your experience about it appearing fake. Can you just go a little bit into that for those who really don't understand what this is or what this means?
Okay, so
best you can, because I know, when you're seeing it visually and then trying to describe it, I know sometimes it can be a bit challenging. So best you can for those who may not understand.
Boy, you mean like the everything looks fake part?
Yes.
It's like the houses and condominiums and townhomes and whatever it is. To me, they look like they're made out of cardboard.
They look pixelated to me, if that makes sense.
Pixelated, you said, Spring?
Kind of.
It's it's like living in that little train world. You know what I'm talking about?
You're like Minecraft.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it could be then for
Which
those
has
who
got to
are
be a
in
piece
this
of the
higher resonance, our vision could be altered, if you will. So that could be another piece of it as well.
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking is I caught a part of witnessing the 3D collapsing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a piece that I caught. So
Yes.
obviously there's a big chunk that moved, which I'm glad because it's filling with new stuff. But there's also adjustment. I mean, energetically, we go through so many adjustments to grow on a higher frequency and to literally try to get into a different dimension. You can actually time jump. I've done it twice.
Yes, we talked about that last week.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was crazy because it brought back, when I time jumped, it brought back my best friend from junior high, and then it brought in my soon to be husband. So so it worked.
But it's really intriguing you say that, Zoe, because I love what you say about, it's not just this jump from one level to another, because I love my background with health and energy is I really just see it as looking at where we are energetically, and are we increasing and improving and, for lack of a less common term, ascending with it, but really is that energy growth getting at a higher level? And so, I definitely look at everything that I'm experiencing as what level of energy is it bringing me to?
Right.
But I almost have experienced the opposite of what you say in that, and maybe it's my background in nature, but when I'm striving to try and increase that energy level, I go out into nature, and where it fills me is almost when I see it at that new abundance, like that new earth, new level. And all of a sudden I can just see it like just so much more abundant, than it is. All of a sudden there's more birds and you're seeing the trees and grass so lush. And, maybe it's the nature versus man-made features, but I find it really intriguing what you say versus what I'm experiencing. And I guess it's maybe just the process for each of us, but it's kind of cool.
Well, and I kind of feel too like my guides are just trying to get it into my system to tell my people when I'm reading for them is that it's time to let go of the old. A lot of people are saying, I can't wait till things get back to normal. It ain't happening.
Right. And so that's part of today's discussion. I want people to really understand that, people are in a space of searching, searching to how do I navigate the space that I'm in? And it's not necessarily navigating the 5D. Right. It's not necessarily navigating that energy. It's more so stepping into the awareness that you have now, the awareness of the energy that is present, the awareness of the energy that's present in you, the energy that is occurring and that is emerging now, which is this fourth density.
Yeah.
And right now, and from my experience, and you guys may differ, but planet Earth, Miss Sophia, the great mother herself, is in fourth density. So then we have to follow in those footsteps. And so maybe Charlotte or Spring, maybe you guys have insight or maybe can add on to this. Is how do we then begin to take these necessary steps to move into the fourth density energy? And really
I'm going to butt in here. I'm going to quickly butt in here. So I think that it's very fluid. From my personal experiences, all of this is very fluid. So in every day, I think all of us do this. We float in to different energetic states. And I mean, I make sure that when I sort of meditate in the morning, that I get myself in the right space, and I can, because I practice so much now, I get into a very strong, beautiful feeling of love and connection and all of those things, which maybe we're calling 5D. So I can get into that, but can I stay in that?
And I kind of feel like everybody has,
Their
at
way
least this is some of what I've seen, where like, okay, yes, some people are in 3 low, you know, some are in 3 high. But I also believe that there are those souls out there, and there's more than we think, that have actually been bouncing around. Like you get just a itty bitty piece of the 5th, but then you bounce into the 4, then you go back to the 3. And I feel like a lot of people are getting pieces of 4, and those are the ones that seem to be moving, like actually like going towards their dreams, like it's happening, like they wanted such and such to happen, and then boom, there they go. Because I feel like the universe is just down looking for people who are really, really ready to really, really change.
But I think
And
there's also something with all of this. So it's one thing to kind of try and keep ourselves in this high vibrational state, but we're also, I mean, I think the whole globe, the whole world is dealing with reveals, and all the shit, excuse my language, is coming up to the surface. So all the shadows are starting to reveal themselves.
Oh, big
So
time.
at the same
Yeah,
time,
big time.
we're sort of finding this wonderful space. We're also going, oh my God, do I really have to deal with that? Oh my God. You know, so that's my experience. It literally, we're flipping between, at least I am, I can only speak for myself, and going from, oh my God, I've got this shadow to deal with. Right, oh, I'm back in the happy space again.
Well, you know, it's funny is
And
my guides told me that the number one thing that blocks people from actually really blowing forward is fear. They say you get out of your fear, you're gone. You're golden. You're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Wings have sprout, you know. Yeah.
And I want to hear from you, Spring, because I feel you're going to have a very interesting take on this. And so what is interesting is how, you know, people are always searching for something, some sort of tool, something that they resonate with. But, you know, what most people aren't even talking about are the kids. I know you have experience with it. So how is it that you find the children paired with their parents navigating into this 4th to 5th D experience? But before you answer, I just want to welcome Miss Victoria to our live chat today, and how we are talking about how do we navigate 5D and the 3D space. So welcome, Victoria. But go ahead, Spring, if you could offer some insight to that.
Yeah, so these kids are our biggest teachers, for one. They're kind of they're already there basically when they come out, and we're the ones who kind of bring them back down, which kind of stinks. But if we could just kind of learn to tune into what they're doing, which is basically just being themselves. Being, instead of being, I mean, not saying they can be crazy, run around the house all the time, you know, like that, but they need different outlets. So the best way my daughter and the other kids in the school channel is through some kind of artwork. So art, music, that's when they really get in their zone and they just start manifesting. So because meditation for them puts them to sleep, and that's it. You know, like, so doesn't work for my kids. We tried that. The older kids, the middle school and the high school, yes, perfect, but not the elementary kids. And those are the ones that are still kind of in that zone, you know.
Yeah.
The other ones have kind of, you know, learned programs over what's going on, you know, just work, school, home, family, you know. It's just the typical programming.
Yeah.
But when I stop and just really pay attention to where, like, my daughter will be she'll start doing artwork, and then she starts spouting off prophecies and stuff like that. I'm just like,
I
okay.
love it.
You know, sometimes the artwork will be related to it, and sometimes it's not. But it's really unique. So once they're in that kind of zone, and not everyone has an artwork zone, like mine's not quite there, but mine is when I'm cooking or baking. So if I start getting in the kitchen, that's when and then under the water, like washing dishes, it's the most stupid thing for most people, but water is also a conductor, and it helps just kind of ground you, calm you, and you can hear, it's almost like it opens up that tube, you know, that channel, that little tunnel that gets in there. So our 4D to me is like the ego too, and learning to break through that and those shadows, the
I
heart,
love that.
the heart space. So once you can learn how to like just kind of relinquish that anger and start sending love to whatever that situation is, the hardest thing to do is sometimes send love to the things you hate.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're all in right now, because since we are in this fourth density energy where we are in the process of letting go and releasing and being free and clear of all that no longer serves us. I personally can speak to clients who are having difficulty with this. No, I want to hold on to it. Why? It's causing you anguish, it's causing you anxiety, it's causing you grief, but it's something that we've known.
Comforting.
And that's the issue that people are having difficulty with. But yeah, exactly. But I'm so glad Victoria hopped on today, because now this kind of like brings me to this next point that I even want you, Janie, to chime in on, because I know your backgrounds. So since we are in fifth navigating 5D into 3D, the big thing is money, right? Where's the money coming from? Where's the money going to support us? How our finances going to show up for us now in this space? So I know, Victoria, you have the 6D Money Tree program, and I know that, Janie, you work with a lot of clients around money. So I want to hear what you guys think about how money is playing a role in our life and our society right now, and how we can move into a shift of more abundance, if you will.
Which one you want to go first?
Right?
You asked us both the same question.
Yeah, so either one. Well, Victoria, you can go first, and then Janie.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what this was about. I've kind of been out of the loop for about the last month. It's funny to talk about money. One of the things I've discovered is that source, God, spirit, angels, pick a label, are trying to figure out how to get money into our hands. So money is something that I've been calling up for the last 10 years, one of the greatest tools for transformation. So one of the biggest lies humanity's been told is that the love of money is the root of all evil. That lie was created to keep money out of the hands of love. The truth is the lust for money is the root of all evil. And as we know, love and lust are two complete opposites. Mm-hmm. And so spirit is trying to get money into our hands because the old world is starting to collapse. So we're going to start seeing more and more and more of that over the coming months. So spirit's been trying to get money into our hands so that we have the resources to be able to create a softer landing for humanity.
Yeah, because they're going to need it.
Yeah. And so what I started seeing is that we have to be open to understanding that the money wants to come to us, and it's coming to us through unplanned ways. So here's an example. It had never crossed my mind until a couple of weeks ago to put my house up on the market for VRBO and Airbnb. Where I've been for the last month is prepping my house for that. And I've had guests at my house. I now have a regular stream of income. My house is booked out for the entire summer, the entire summer.
Nice.
I don't know where I'm going to be living over the summer. I have no idea. Well, I set the intentions at the beginning of the summer, which also explains to all of you why I am here today, natural. I don't have an ounce of makeup on, and because I'm living out of a suitcase and I'm living out of my closet. Oh. My house has to be prepped and ready for a guest at all times. So I, okay, I'm going to show up and the whole world's going to see what I really look like. This is a ready version. And I'm actually on my laptop, and my laptop has the world's worst camera. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. My camera is in front of my keyboard. Who designed this thing? Anyway.
Well, thank you.
I have my laptop sitting on top of a box, and I promise not to touch my keyboard, but that's why I have such a weird angle. And I don't know, it's going to be interesting doing shows over the next 3 months because I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be a traveling teacher. And one of the intentions I said at the beginning of this year is I wanted to get paid to speak this year. What I didn't know what that meant is that I'm not being paid by the place that I'm teaching, I am being paid to speak by my house being rented out.
Yep, you just never know.
We have to be open to wherever the money wants to flow through us. And sometimes it's coming from places we never imagined it would come from. The money is trying to get to us. So we have to be open to the flow. What happens with a lot of people, and this is part of what I teach on 6D money tree for people who are wondering, it means sixth dimension. The sixth dimension, this reality we're creating is upper 4D, 5D, and 6D. So creation occurs in the sixth dimension and it physically manifests in the lower dimension. So, which is why I teach about how to manifest money in the sixth dimensional field. So what we really, really, really have to understand is that we have to get out of our own way. So many people think that money has to come from one place. Money has to come from my job. Money has to come from my teaching. Money has to come from my YouTube channel. Money has to come from me selling a product. That is limiting the universe's ability to give to us. We need to open ourselves up to receive however it is that source, universe, spirit wants to provide to us and allow it to come in. I had to let go of my attachments, Hillis, letting go of attachments. I had to let go of my attachments to my house in order for this money to start coming in. And I started getting that guidance a couple of months ago. You need to let go of your attachments to your house. And I'm like, oh, but I love my house. And I've got 2 cats. And what am I going to do with my kids? And so I had all of these attachments. As soon as I let go of my attachments to my house, the rest of it worked itself out. And now I have all this money that's starting to flow in.
Nice.
Willing to let go of our attachments to where and how we think the money's going to come, and anything that is blocking the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Janie? What are your thoughts about this?
Ditto to all that. And something I'm noticing too, and I actually said it, I don't know how many times yesterday, there are no rules unless we make the rules. So there is no programming.
Repeat that one more time.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are no rules unless we create the rules.
Powerful. So you hear that, people?
Yeah, so if you're, I have to do this, this, and this. Well, first of all, who said that you had to? Because what I teach is communication with your business. Because your business is like creating a baby. So you created an energetic being that will flourish and create with you as long as you nurture it and have a relationship with it. And it doesn't matter if you have 1,600 different businesses, you can have a relationship with all of them just like you do with all of your kids. So, it's each one is going to be different and have a different personality and a different way of speaking to you. But when you're open to just, I feel the same about programming as I do about rules. So there is no programming unless you choose to hold on to it.
Yeah.
So most of the time we do hold on to the programming and the rules because that's a safe zone. And there's a fear that was instilled when, usually when we were children, that if we step out of that box, we don't know what's going to happen. So it's more like a fear of an unknown now that we're adults, because, I haven't got a spanking since I was 16, so I'm not afraid of that, So it really is, take a step and look at, what are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid of actually succeeding? Are you afraid of, it really doesn't matter, because if you are creating your business and your communication according to what is in alignment with your purpose in your heart, it just grows and expands.
Yeah.
And you have to let go of, like Victoria with her house, to let go of attachments, of the programming, of the fear, and really do the inner work and take a look at, why do I keep revisiting that, or why am I hanging on to it?
I love that.
That
Thank
was
you so much.
beautifully said. Yes.
And so I feel that the heart of this discussion is the letting go, the clearing too, because that's all the weight, right?
Mhm.
And so I guess I want to hear, because we haven't heard from Kristy in a while. I'll start with you, Kristy, is what are some of the best ways that we can allow ourselves, give ourselves permission to be free from the weight, the attachments that we're holding on to?
Well, I was thinking just when even Janie was talking about that, is how, as we're trying to get somewhere and, achieve, this position of abundance that's comfortable and natural to us, is what we were talking about earlier, how, you're sort of rising in dimension, but then you don't stay there for very long, or you fall. And so I think the key is, as we're trying to let these things go and be open to new, is we also have to be very gentle and loving to ourselves when we're not there, almost in a way that, we're trying to achieve this level of unconditional love, but when we can't, we have to be unconditionally loving to ourselves, be okay with where we are in a way that we rest and rejuvenate to help lift ourselves back up when we're ready to, get to this level that we want to get to. And so, I think it's just really important that we're accepting and loving of where we are, with the intention of helping ourselves move forward when we can and when we're ready, and to continue to nurture ourselves through all parts of the process.
Mhm. And the sad thing is
Well,
too, is there's so much fear going on in the collective. It's sad. I
Yeah.
mean, people are just losing their minds. And
Yeah.
plus it's crazy out there. I mean,
Well, I guess, it's I'm going to say this and then we can get to final thoughts. But the world that we allow ourselves to live in versus the world that we choose to create is all about our perspective mixed with our experience. And so, as more mature people on the planet, adults mostly, we live in this expectations, and we live in perspectives, and we live in our past experiences, and we live in all this other stuff that we have to allow ourselves to shed in order to move forward into further into the fourth density and eventually into the fifth density. But as the children who are just coming in on the planet, they don't have any of that. They
Yep.
don't have the woe is me or the other lower vibrating energies, because, and if they do, they pick it up from us. And it's, our experiences that are being imposed onto them. So I guess what I want us to talk about in our final thoughts is, what tools do you recommend for someone? What's your one go-to that you can offer someone now in this moment who's like, I'm just done and just wants to give up, but they can't. They just have to
Right.
keep going. And so what's that one thing you'll go to? And we can start with Janie and then work our way around.
So I would say the one go-to is asking questions,
Mhm.
in the form of not a conclusion question or like a statement with a question mark attached. Because if you really look at it, when we were born as, a beautiful, amazing little baby, we had the soul contracts and whatever, but in that moment, we had no programming, we had no bad habits, we had no fear, so to speak. It's all been instilled by our parents, bless their hearts, did the best they could with what they had. Some of it was good and some of it was not.
Mhm.
And so that's how we've created who we are today, based on, the teachings of programmings and teachings of fear and things like that. So if you really stop and remove yourself from that energy on an energetic level and just stand, I don't know, maybe with your feet on the ground or something, connect with your heart and center yourself again. And step out of the fear, step out of the programming, and really ask, is this in alignment? Is this my truth? Is this what I want? Do I want to continue to choose that? Because you have, you can choose now, and then, in a moment you can choose different, and then you can choose something else. So just because you made a choice 5 minutes ago doesn't mean that that's still in alignment with you where you're at now, 5 minutes now, if that makes sense. And then to leave out the judgment of if you do change your mind or if you change your path, because we're like a radio dial. We have to tweak and turn and readjust because the energies are continuously moving. So trying to stay fixed in balance is virtually impossible anyways.
Especially right now.
Yeah. So just, continuously tuning in. Is this true for me? Do I, want to continue to choose this moving forward? And what else can I choose?
Yes,
And
exactly.
leave it open, because when you do the open-ended questions like that, you don't know the answer, and then source can speak to you and say, hey, put your house up, you're gonna let go of your attachment. You'd be like, what? But as Victoria stated, if you follow those intuitions that source gives you when you're in that moment, there is no limits to what you can create.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for that. Zoe?
I really, I deeply feel this, and I feel the secret is when you're really, really ready, it really, really happens, whether it's love, money, whatever. Because if you really want that, you're going to let it in.
Yeah.
And it's levels, and people need to look at that and go, okay, what is blocking that? What am I doing, or how am I thinking, to get into that space? And I think that's a good way for people to kind of answer their own questions, because they can look at it and go, oh, it's fear. Oh, it's anxiety, or it's I'm afraid to trust. Or does that make sense?
Perfectly. Thank
Like,
you so much, Zoe.
when you're really, really ready, it really, really happens. That's just how I feel.
Yes, there's no other way it can be. Charlotte, what about you? What's your go-to?
I've got two. I'm allowed two.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
the first go-to is that as of 1st of January this year, I made a commitment that I was going to meditate every day, which I haven't. I've been very floaty about meditating before. And so I really committed to it. And the commitment was difficult, and I had to move through some bumps and humps along the way. But now, where I've got to now is that I can go very quickly to this connection. And I do two things, which is basically I make sure I'm really grounded. So I make sure I do what I talk to other musicians about, which is I make sure I've got roots going from the bottom of my feet to the center of the earth, pulling up the nutrients from Mother Earth. And at the same time, and this is how I make the connection, is I just think I'm breathing in for the love from the divine, and I'm breathing out. And sometimes I breathe out to the world, love to the world. Sometimes I breathe it out to myself, depending on what I feel like, at the time. So that's my key thing, and then I go from there. And the other go-to is a buddy. I need a buddy or somebody. It doesn't have to be one person, but like-minded people, especially at the moment. I love my friends, but they're not always on the same path, and therefore we have to have sometimes quite a contrived conversation at times. But to actually be able to talk very openly and very freely with like-minded people it's like an oasis in a desert for me at the moment. So that's my second go-to.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Kristy?
Much like Charlotte and Janie were saying, is I always look at it like when there's a blessing, there's a gift in being somewhere that we know we don't want to be, because that is our first step to identifying where we do. And so as long as we can look at it that way and take the time, just like everybody was saying, to stop reestablish, ground to the earth, connect with your heart, then you can find the answers to what it is, who it is, and where you want to be. But I do find, and I will just say this, some days that requires us to do it every hour, some days maybe once a day. But I think if we just take that time to stop in that position and reestablish the direction we're going, we can get there a lot faster.
Yeah. Rayne, what's your go-to?
Basically, grounding, breathing, taking a few deep breaths, calling in my team of angels, surround me with light and love, because things can be chaotic, like Kristy said, once an hour sometimes. For me lately, I've been going through really big transitions. I don't make any decisions really, even though sometimes the simple ones you do and you're like, oh man, I really should have asked on that one. You just like, oh. So learning to just really ground and center will definitely make things go a little bit smoother for you. Not a little, a lot more smoother. And then that space will, like she said, once a day or once an hour. Usually the more you stop and do it, and you're allowing yourself to stay in that space, no matter what's coming at you, you'll have to do it less and less, but always staying connected for sure is the key.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Good
Thank you
one.
for that, Spring. Victoria, what about you? What's your go-to?
I'm going to share this with those who might be watching who are a little bit more what I would call spiritual newbies. Because what everyone else has shared here is a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
For those who are spiritual newbies, and I'm going back to where I was 12 years ago when my own holy shift hit the fan. What I always go back to is what I was taught, which is to begin with gratitude. And that is about going into whatever the circumstance is and asking, what can I be grateful for in this? And what it really does is it starts to completely shift our perspective about the experience itself. So it doesn't matter what the experience is, as painful as it may be. If we shift our mindset out of complaining and into gratitude, we can find the gifts within the experience. It's a really basic concept for a lot of people, and yet it is completely life altering. So I'll share one personal experience that I share quite often as an example of what this looks like. So 12 years ago, after the 2008 economic collapse, which is what we are getting ready to face now coming up this year, and I was losing everything. And I was sitting in the attorney's office in the midst of filing for bankruptcy. And I sat with that and I asked myself, what can I be grateful for in this? Because for me, bankruptcy was the lowest, only the scum of earth file bankruptcy. That was my perspective at the time. And that there I was being the most pitiful human being ever, that I had to file for bankruptcy. So when I sat with that and I asked, what can I be grateful for this? My inner voice told me, be grateful for the opportunity that you get to start all over again. You get a second chance. This doesn't get to happen in countries. Here in America, we get a second chance. And that really helped me understand this was that the ability to file for bankruptcy was a tremendous gift, not something to be embarrassed about, not something to be ashamed about, not something to grovel over or complain about, but that it was a gift for me. And so I've learned that no matter what's happening in my life, to always go back to gratitude. What can I be grateful for in this experience? And there's always a gift in it. We have to get out of the mindset of complaining about the circumstance and instead focus on what's in it for me. How is this helping me become a better person? How is this serving me? Why this lesson is being provided to me by my higher self, by my angels, by source, by whatever your name is for the divine. What is in this that can help me be a better person? What is in this that's helping me move forward? We're not complaining, why is this happening to me? But instead, real and genuine curiosity, why is this happening for me?
Yeah.
When we get out of complaining and move into gratitude, it shifts everything. It changes everything.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for that reminder, as that is how I started my personal journey, is through gratitude experiences and sharing my gratitude experiences. And so, so thank you for that. But just want to share, one of my go-tos, and actually you stole that one from me, Victoria, and I appreciate you so much for sharing that with all of us. But, one of the more recent go-tos that I have is from a previous, most recent learning experience, is that for some of us who may be more advanced, and we ask ourselves these questions of should I, shouldn't I, will I, won't I, is this good for me, is it not good for me? And we always sit and wait for the answer. And some of us, move into whatever direction the answer leads us in. And then there are some of those who may not get an answer. And so this is the part where people may get most confused. It's like, well, I didn't get an answer. I didn't get anything. And so then if there's no answer, then there's no action. If there's no feeling, there's no action. If there's no sensation or guidance or nudge, nothing, then there's no action. Then what you do is then you ask another question, or you ask the right question until you get that feeling, until you get that motivation to say yes or no, to move in the direction that you're being pulled into. But like Victoria just said, start with gratitude. Let's be easy with it. Have appreciation for the experience of what you have, and then follow up by asking the questions, and then step into the intuitive space of feeling, knowing if you are making the best decision for yourself now, or 5 minutes later, an hour later, or 2 weeks later. But allow that intuitive feeling to be your guide and your support. And I just want to say thank you, ladies, everyone, for sharing this day, this experience, this wisdom with those who are watching now and later.
Yes.
And I give it back to you, Miss Janie. It's all yours.
Thank you. Phenomenal conversation, guys. And for all of you watching, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. And remember, tune in often. Tell all your friends. And most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Many blessings.